Hey everyone, this is Randy from BibleBuyingGuide.com. Today I'm taking a look at the New King James Comfort Print edition of the Thompson Chain Reference Bible from Zondervan. This is the latest version of the Thompson, and in previous videos we looked at the covers and we looked at the content. In this video I'm going to compare it to the original from Kirkbride. So this is the regular size edition from Kirkbride. And there's its information on the box. And I'm going to compare it to both the handy size and the regular size. And the reason for that is because the handy size is an 8-point font, and the original from Kirkbride is an 8-point font. So just a quick comparison of the font size, and then we'll go to the comparison for the content. Let's get to the same place here. Luke 14. So there's Luke 14 for both. Both are red letter editions. All of the Comfort Print editions are red letter except for the Premier Collection, which we'll do in the next video. So here's how they compare. The fonts are the same size. However, the Comfort Print font is darker. It's line matched, and it just looks better. It's easier to see. So there's how they compare. And for that same font size, you get quite a bit smaller text block. Here's how the blocks compare. So now let's compare it to the regular size. Of the regular size editions, see how they compare to each other. So here's our footprint, which is very similar. Footprint is very close. It's not a lot different. The Zondervan is a little thinner, maybe a touch shorter, just a little bit shorter. So 8-point font in the Kirkbride and a 9.5-point font in the Zondervan. So let's do a comparison of the fonts, and then we'll compare the content. So there's John 7 for both. Red letter and black letter. Alright, so both have the same content. However, the Kirkbride had a few chains that were not in the back, and it had a few chains in the back that were not in the margin. So what they've done is updated everything. This information has been moved to a new location. Alright, so it's going to be a little difficult to compare, but we will anyway. Alright, so we have this information that used to be at the top of the page has now been moved to the book introduction. And also, what used to be in the back, called the analysis of books, is now moved to the front to create a book introduction. So originally, the New King James had chapter summaries. Those have been removed. And then it has footnotes across the bottom. And they only cover the column of text. Now they cover the entire page. The footnotes are the same. They're identical. Both use the reduced set of footnotes that are used for reference editions, not the completed footnotes that are used for study Bibles. But they're still really good footnotes. The chains are the same, except for now they've been completed. So you're going to find more chains in the new one. Not added chains, but completed chains. So if they were in the back, they're now in the margin. The chains themselves are a little bit easier to see and use now. Whereas before, they're all one color. Now we have black and then red. We have red for the topic numbers. And then here is the chains, the exact same chain, just to compare the same information to the same information. So there's how it looks. It's a little bit easier to see the topic numbers now. And the topic names are in bold, so they stand out a little bit more. And whereas before we had bold verse numbers for where a new paragraph starts, now we have bold verse numbers in red. So we have red highlights all throughout that we didn't have before. So both have poetry, have a poetic setting. So there's Psalm 80 for both. have a little bit better design for the text. First letter was larger and bold, now it's just normal. I feel like both were actually broken up in good places, but we're going to have more times in the original that had a single word. For example, right here, lots of places have a single word, and those are really easy to see. They stand out. You don't see that in the Zondervan. Not unless you just have to, but it's hard to find any. I don't see any here. So there's how the text compares there. Here are the charts between the testaments, contrast between the testaments. Same information, but now it's a chart rather than a table that creates two books that are chained together. But the information is the same. Just looks a little cleaner now. So here is our list of comprehensive Bible helps. And all the information in the back is the same, except for a few things removed. There's our list of comprehensive Bible helps. I'll zoom in on that in case you want to compare. Then we have alphabetical index. So the Kirkbride goes straight to the alphabetical index, while the Zondervan has principles of Bible study, best methods of Bible study. And then here is our index. The index works the same way. There's no difference. It's just that it's a little bit easier to read now, where before everything's the same color. But we did have bold information in here that helped break it up a little bit. Now we have red topic numbers, so it's a little bit easier to see. And we also have different weights of fonts, just like before. So we would see the primary topic in bold, and then we would see the secondary topics in a little bit lighter font. Same here, bold and a little bit lighter font. So here's how they compare. So here we have the principles of Bible study and the best methods of Bible study between the two indexes. And this is the same information that's found in the Zondervan. It's just in a different location and broken up a little bit different, a little bit easier to read, I think. Then we have our numerical index of topics with information on how to use it. And then it just starts here, information on how to use it, and then it starts. Designed a little different as far as the look, but it's the same information. Whereas before we had all black with bold for the primary verse numbers in a topic, they're now in red. And there's how they look. The font in the new one is a little smaller, I think. Might be a touch darker though, so I still feel like it's easy enough to read. But all that information is the same. The difference being that if the topic is in the margin, it is back here, and if it's back here, it's in the margin. That's not necessarily the case with the Kirkbride. They were still working on developing that, and they never really got that completely finished. Then we have our outline studies of the Bible, and then condensed outline of the Bible. While the Kirkbride takes you through the Apocrypha and takes you through a map of Bible translations, that information is not found in the Zondervan. So this gives you a little bit of a history of Bible translation. That has now been removed. And it goes in a little bit more detail, gives you information on the older translations, this is something that I've always liked, because I like Bible translation history. One of my topics. One of my favorite topics. So a lot of information provided there. Not necessarily relevant to actually studying the Bible with the Thompson, so I can see why they removed it. And we have Messianic stars. So here's an older chart. And then the Temple of Truth. So some of these older things have been removed. Then we have the condensed outline of the Bible, which both editions do have. So here's how they compare. And that is the same information. Just follows their design, with the Kirkbride being in bold and then the Zondervan being in red, with red highlights. Then we have periods of biblical history. Same information on both charts, just designed differently. Analysis of books. Now, the analysis of books has been moved to the front of each book in the Zondervan. So you're not going to find it in the back anymore. Now you're going to find it before the book itself. But the information is the same, except for there's a few additions to the Zondervan. We have information pulled from the front of the book and been moved here. And then we have new information, such as the major chains in that book. But the information that's in the Thompson is in the Zondervan. There's Romans. That one has been moved. So here's that same chart in Romans. It's been moved to the beginning of the book in the Zondervan. Next is Bible Character Studies. In the Kirkbride, that was just called Character Studies. New illustrations. Information is the same. It's just updated with new drawings and the new format, new style. New style guide. Some of these maps and charts have been changed or removed. Prominent characters classified, same information. Again, it just follows the new style for the Zondervan. Outline history of the apostles, and it includes the same information, just done in a different way. And a new chart. This is easier to see on this side, so let's go back over here. Same information. And then what is removed is the portraits of Christ. So for the Zondervan, we go straight to the Messianic prophecies, which is one of my favorite charts. But in the Kirkbride, we have Isaiah's portraits of Christ and synoptic portraits of Christ. And then we have a picture gallery with information about those portraits. And then some information about each of them. Then we go into the Messianic prophecies. This is the same chart, done to a different style guide. They've removed the branches. Then we have Bible harmonies and illustrated studies. Same information, but follows the new style. And that new style removes the information from the maps and places them in an easier to read format. So here's how the maps look before and after. And this is consistent all the way through. So I'll skip a few of these, but you're going to see the same style design. Consistent. They've removed, trees, but the information is in the charts. They've just made them a lot more readable. And some of these things have been removed. These things over here, little thumbnail drawings. This tree has been removed. Then we have the harmony of the Gospels. Same information. It's just in the new style. It's a very large table. Then we go from there to the journeys of Jesus' early life. This one goes to an overview of Jesus' life, the life of Christ. It presents it as a timeline. And then we have the year of inauguration, Jesus in the year of popularity. Those have been redrawn as the new style of maps and charts. So there's how they compare. Information is the same, it's just more readable. Here are the hours of Jesus on the cross. The information's the same, just a new style of drawing it. Then for the post-resurrection appearances, the Zondervan, we have a table, while the Kirkbride had portraits and then a table. There's the 7 churches of Asia, which is not in the Zondervan, which I'd like to see that added back in. Then we have the life of Peter, while the Zondervan goes to the overview of Paul's life. And then there's a tree of Paul's life. They've removed the tree, and then they've gone to the outline. So the overview is the same. And just like before, they've gone to the new design for the maps. So you can see some of the designs for the trees and things like that have been removed. All the little portraits have been removed. There's the table, the outline history of the early church. It's a good table, same information in both. Distance in miles between Old Testament cities, and distance in miles between Old Testament cities. I have to say I prefer the Zondervan here. It shows everything from Jerusalem, and then just goes out from there. So it's distance from Jerusalem, rather than distance in miles between Old Testament cities. In this case, the Zondervan has provided quite a bit more information. Then we have the prodigal son in the Kirkbride with golden chapters. And then topical treasury. And then we go straight to the topical treasury for the Zondervan. And the information in the topical treasury is the same. These are list of topics that are good for study. That's basically what they are. I do like them. I think these are really good for study. And as before, the topical treasury follows the style guides for the Zondervan. Then we have Christian workers text. So both include the same information, and then of course are just follow their style guides. And then memory verses. Same information, just a larger font in the Zondervan. And aids to memorization. Sorry for switching these back and forth a lot, but it's just easier to see. So we have aids to memorization. All that's been placed on a single page. And then in the Kirkbride, we have Bible marking. And that Bible marking there does give you some good information. It's something that I would like to see added back in. I do like that a lot. It's one of the things that I used when I was getting started in Bible marking. I found it helpful. Places of religious worship and religious leaders. So new illustrations. So here's how they compare. The Kirkbride does seem to have a little bit more information there. So it looks like some of the information has been reduced or removed. And then in the Kirkbride, we go straight to an archaeological supplement. That's been removed from the Zondervan because a lot of this information is outdated. And it was going to cost a lot of money to update this. And, it's not really... It's more study Bible material, commentary study Bible material, I guess. It's going to take a lot of time to update this. So they just decided to remove it. In a poll, they found that it was the least used feature by Thompson users. So they just removed it. And then Hebrew times, seasons, and festivals. And then in the Zondervan, and then in the Kirkbride, we have a Hebrew calendar. So there's the information there. And then we go straight to the New King James Concordance. And here is our New King James Concordance. Both are decent concordances, but neither of them have a lot of information. The Kirkbride starts with Aaron, and the Zondervan starts with abased. There are more entries in the Kirkbride Concordance. And the Zondervan has a table for weights, measures, and monies. Then we also have the index to maps, called the Index to Scripture Atlas, or Color Map Index, depending on which edition you're looking at. But the maps are different, because rather than Kirkbride maps, we're using the Zondervan maps. Here's the index. There's how that one compares. The Zondervan has a few pages for notes, and then we get straight into our maps. So that is a quick look at how the new Zondervan Comfort Print New King James Thompson chain reference compares to the original Kirkbride edition. I do like the updates in the Zondervan. There's a couple of things I wish that they would include, which I did point out as we went. But I do understand why some of the things were removed. I understand why they removed some of the older charts and maps and drawings and things like that. And I do understand why the portraits and things like that were removed, and why the archaeological supplement was removed. I do think that including some of that information would be good. The information I pointed out as we went. Overall, the Zondervan is a better design. It's easier to use. It looks better. It's cleaner to the eye. Larger font. It's a more complete edition because everything that's in the back is now in the margins, whereas before we would have some things that's not there. So that's my quick look at how they compare. Take a look at the other reviews if you want more detailed information about the sizes and the covers, and more detailed information about how to use the Thompson. And Zondervan did supply this in exchange for an honest review. And stay tuned for the Premier Collection review. Thanks.